The house was louder than usual that evening. My brother Daniel's birthday always turned into an event, but this year my parents had really leaned into it. Streamers over the dining room archway, music drifting from a speaker on the counter, relatives stopping by throughout the evening. Daniel stood in the center of most conversations. He had that kind of gravity. People liked being near him. I stayed mostly near the kitchen island with my laptop bag under the chair. I'd been finishing some work earlier in the day and hadn't bothered putting it away. My mother tapped her glass halfway through dinner. "Okay," she said, "gift time." Daniel leaned back in his chair, smiling the way people do when they already suspect something big is coming. My parents brought out a long envelope and handed it to him. He opened it slowly. Plane tickets slid halfway out before he even finished reading. "Wait," he said.
Is this?
"Italy," my mother said, already clapping her hands together. 2 weeks, flights and hotel. The room erupted. My aunt cheered. Someone started asking what cities he'd visit. My father clapped Daniel on the back. "You've always made us proud," he said. Daniel stood up to hug them both. I watched the whole thing with the same small smile I'd used at family events for years. It was genuine enough. Daniel had always been the one everyone believed in. Eventually my mother turned toward me. "Oh," she said suddenly. "And we got something for you too." She reached into a small bag beside the counter and handed me a thin envelope. Inside was a $25 gift card to a local coffee shop. For a moment I thought there might be a second envelope that hadn't made it into the bag. There wasn't. My mother gave a warm little nod. "You've always been good at appreciating the little things." A few people smiled politely around the table. I folded the card back into the envelope. "Thanks," I said. Daniel was already telling someone about Rome. The night continued the way these gatherings usually did, loud, overlapping conversations, plates moving in and out of the kitchen, someone opening another bottle of wine. At some point my father mentioned how lucky they were that the house had stayed financially stable through the last couple years. He didn't look at me when he said it. I didn't think he realized how often the stability had come from the quiet transfers I'd been making every month. Mortgage gaps, utility spikes, small emergencies, nothing dramatic, just steady. Around 10 that night, people began leaving. Daniel had started looking up Italian restaurants on his phone. My mother was discussing travel insurance with my aunt. No one noticed when I stood up from the table. I went to my room down the hall. My laptop was already packed. I added a few clothes to a small bag and zipped it closed. The house sounded exactly the same as it always had, voices drifting from the kitchen. Someone laughing too loudly at a joke. I paused in the doorway for a moment, listening. Then I walked out through the side door into the driveway. The cool night air felt strangely quiet compared to inside. I put the bag in the back seat and drove away. The apartment I rented that week was small, but it had a desk by the window and reliable internet. That was all I needed. My work had always been remote. Staying at my parents' house had mostly been about convenience, and the sense that it helped everyone else. For the first few days, no one noticed I was gone. Daniel was busy planning his trip. My parents were busy talking about it with relatives. A week passed. Then the calls started, my mother first. "Hey," she said. "Where are you?" "At my place." "What place?" I moved out. Silence stretched across the line. "But the utilities just came through," she said slowly. "And the mortgage payment." "I know. You didn't send anything this month." "I'm covering my own place now." Another silence. "When are you coming back?" she asked. "I'm not." Later that evening Daniel called. His tone was more confused than angry. "Mom says the bills are piling up," he said. "They'll figure something out. You always handled that stuff." I looked out the apartment window at the streetlights across the parking lot. I handled my part. 2 days later my father left a voicemail. The bank had contacted them about the mortgage schedule. Apparently the automatic transfers they were used to seeing had stopped. They needed to speak with a representative about restructuring payments. The situation had moved beyond the family into something official. I listened to the message once and set the phone down. It wasn't satisfying. It wasn't revenge. Mostly it was quiet. For years I had lived in that house believing I was part of the same story as everyone else. But watching Daniel unwrap those plane tickets, while my mother explained the value of little things, had clarified something I hadn't allowed myself to see before. I had never been the center of their plans. Just the background stability that made those plans possible. Now, sitting at the desk in my small apartment, the room was quiet except for the hum of my laptop. For the first time in a long while, the money I earned was supporting only one life. Mine.